So we're continuing about the guidelines for refuge. So these are really practical guidelines that are kind of like the how-to and what-to, nuts and bolts, to keep our refuge stable and to enhance it. And so now we're doing the section on the guidelines that are in terms of each of the three refuges. So the first one says, having taken refuge in the Buddha, who has purified all defilements and developed all qualities, do not turn for refuge to worldly gods who lack the capacity to guide you from all problems. Okay, so once you've taken refuge in the Buddha is your guide. You've analyzed, you see that the Buddha's eliminated everything, all the defilements to be eliminated, that has developed all the qualities to develop and done that, expansively, infinitely, and you've made a decision on your spiritual refuge. And so having done that and having a fully enlightened being as your guide, then why go to refuge to those who aren't fully enlightened? It's like, what's the purpose? There is no purpose. So this is said, in ancient cultures, people believed a lot in the different spirits and different devas and that had different psychic powers and so on. Even when I lived in Singapore, there were certain temples. They were called Taoist temples, although they were the actual form of Taoist, but that's what the people called them. And they would do divinations there and give predictions and fortune telling and all of that kind of thing. And so that's an example of, you wouldn't go for refuge to a lesser spirit if you have the perfect guide to enlightenment. Now what the Tibetans would say is, if some of these spirits can help you by giving you useful information or help you in other ways, then it's okay to be friends with them, but you don't turn to refuge for them for your spiritual guidance. Yeah. In the West, I don't know how much we believe in these kinds of things. I think less than in Asia. Although I remember reading about one Buddhist center, and they were having a big fundraising event, and they invited a channeler to be there. And I was kind of horrified. Actually, it's like, if the Buddha's your guide, why do you have a channeler and raise money, because everybody wants to come for the channeler. And that's kind of like what I was saying the other day about how people get all excited about the fortune teller because they're talking about them, but about the Buddha's guidance, we just kind of ignore it. Yeah. So that kind of thing. In other words, keep our refuge very clear. Now, one of the inmates I write to recently wrote and asked about this because he sometimes goes to the Catholic Mass. He finds it a very relaxing, peaceful environment, and then he just recently heard about this kind of guideline of refuge, so he's wondering, is he doing something wrong, because he doesn't want to break his refuge. And what I'm going to respond is that it depends a lot on his state of mind. If he's going because the priest is giving a very helpful sermon, and sometimes he tells me about the sermon, and what the priest is saying is very useful, very helpful. And if he's going because it's a quiet, peaceful, spiritual atmosphere, there's no problem with that, no contradiction. If he's seeing Jesus as a bodhisattva, no problem. Okay? If he's praying to a creator God, then that would contravene the refuge precepts. Okay? Because that would be actively taking refuge in something that, from a Buddhist viewpoint, a creator God doesn't exist. Yeah? Or if one did, he wouldn't be able to guide you to enlightenment because he was permanent, or didn't know enlightenment himself. So it depends a lot on the person's individual state of mind, what's going on.